Welcome, all my crime lovers, to Killers of History, where we talk about all kinds of killers around the world, present, past, and future. I am your host, Zeke, and I'm here with my beautiful wife and co-host, Sam. Say hello, Sam.
Hello, everyone. Today we'll be jumping right into the life and vicious crimes committed by Harold Shipman, better known as Dr. Death.
Dun, dun. All right, so in 2000, Dr. Harold Franklin Shipman was convicted of murdering 15 of his patients. Then he killed himself inside of his prison cell just 4 years later.
Easy way out.
Easy way out. Big easy way out. I mean, he chickened out. He didn't even, he said, yep, I'm out. I'm not doing this. I mean, I guess he was an old guy. How old was he when he died, you know?
I think
Honestly,
in his 50s.
I honestly don't know. I didn't look at his age when he died, but I'm pretty sure he was an old guy.
Yeah.
Like an older gentleman. All right, so as we all know, doctors are supposed to help people in vulnerable situations, but Dr. Shipman definitely took advantage of these people in these dire moments in their life.
They're supposed to trust him.
They needed help, and he took advantage of these elderly people that needed help, needed a legit doctor, and he murdered them.
No, he just gave him false, diagnosis and then murdered them.
Yeah, then used medicine to murder them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. This killer's a lot different than a lot of killers that you see that, rape and murder these people like brutally and do all this vicious stuff to them. He kind of didn't really do that. He
No,
murdered these people but used medicine.
to do it.
Which I don't really get, because like I feel like you're not really getting in the eyes of a murderer. I feel like you're not getting much satisfaction out of those.
Maybe to him it is. Maybe to him it is.
I feel like most murderers like rack up their kills, and like you're not really getting much satisfaction out of just putting somebody to sleep. It's pretty much all he's doing. He's just putting them to sleep.
Well, he's using painkillers.
Yeah.
In one of the videos I watched about him, they said to a profiling, those profilers,
Yep.
They said basically it seemed like after his mother's death, he got the satisfied by seeing what the painkillers did to her.
So he's seen it happen to his mother, and he felt relief then. So whenever he was doing it to these patients, he felt that similar relief that he felt when it happened to his mother.
So maybe
that was kind of his.
Maybe he had some kind of God complex.
He got that. I mean, a lot of killers do. A lot of killers do have a God complex, like they're better than everybody.
Yeah.
So this is one reason why he became one of the most profiled serial killers in English history. He was a popular one. This guy is definitely a popular one, mostly in. He is a British murderer, so this took place in the UK. So maybe a lot of people in America has heard of him, because I definitely have never heard of this guy until we started researching.
Especially his kill count. He would be famous just like
huge kill count. As you were about to read, you'll see how big his kill count is. It's huge.
Like Ted Bundy in them. Huge.
Yeah, I mean, he's huge, and this guy wasn't really talked about much. Maybe not in the US, maybe in the UK and England.
Oh, I heard a lot. It was
talked about a lot.
Yeah.
So Shipman would first diagnose his patients with illnesses that they didn't have, but then he would inject them with a lethal dose of morphine. So that is a painkiller. It's pretty much putting these people almost to the verge of sleep.
To what one of the videos I heard, basically he overdosed them
on morphine.
Yeah.
And we all know, I mean, if anybody here has had any surgeries or been to the hospital for intense pain, we've all had morphine. We all know what it feels like at small doses.
Yeah, it takes everything away.
Kind of makes it feel like you're like really drunk. You're really, really drunk.
So you can only imagine.
But not like the bad side effects of drinking, but like you just feel like you're really drunk. That's what I got out of whenever I've had morphine. It kind of makes me feel like I'm just super drunk.
I want to know. I never had morphine before.
So allegedly, he killed 250 people between the times of 1975 and 1998, where they would visit his doctor's office, and that would be the last thing they would do.
That's crazy. Because when I saw pictures of the doctor's office, it was horrifying. So dying in a place like that? Oh no.
What did it look like? Can you kind of describe it to us a little bit?
It looked like a rundown apartment, basically. Like he worked in a rundown apartment. I wish I had the pictures up so I could show you, but it's crazy. You would see me running in the next direction to a different doctor's office if I ran.
schedule an appointment, show up there, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going in here. I'm good. I'm just going to the hospital. I'll pay the hospital bills. I'm good. All right, so now we're kind of getting into how Harold Shipman got into medicine in the first place. So this is kind of the beginning of his story.
What started his rampage?
What kind of led him into murdering all these people? So Harold Shipman was born in England in 1946. He was a promising student throughout school and excellent in sports, particularly rugby. See, that's surprising. A lot of these murderers weren't really big in sports. They were kind of they were kind of bullied, social outcasts. So this is a different aspect that you don't see a lot in murderers. In murderers, is that I mean, he was kind of popular. You know, he was a big sports guy. He did great in school.
I mean, he was success.
Yeah, he was a success in school. A lot of these murderers, they're not like that. They're bullied, picked on, social outcast. No one talks to them. They have no friends.
There's just something wrong
and they
with
have
them in the
trouble
beginning.
in school. Yeah, but this guy seems like just a normal school kid.
Normal everyday
But of
person.
course, Shipman's life changed when he was just 17 years old. That year, his mother, Vera, with whom Shipman was quite close with, was diagnosed with lung cancer, where she lay dying in a hospital bed. Shipman closely observed how the doctors eased her suffering by administering morphine to her. So this kind of starts where he got the idea
of morphine,
of how to murder his patients.
This kind of started his legacy.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen his mother have morphine and it helped her. Helped her through the pain, calmed her down, relaxed her, and he felt some sort of enjoyment out of seeing his mother
get relieved by pain, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think it is like, you know, if you're seeing your mother or a close family member suffering in a situation and something happens to them that makes that pain go away, you're happy. You feel glad that your loved one isn't going through that pain anymore. So I think that's kind of the feeling that he's getting. So whenever he commits these murders, he's feeling that same sense of satisfaction and happiness that he felt when his mother lost all that pain that she was suffering with for so long. But, you know, this you can imagine. I mean, this lady's probably in agony, screaming, crying, begging for help every second. And then she gets this morphine. She feels better, and her son's like, "Oh my God, thank you, God, for helping my mother."
But some of his patients didn't have any disease or anything wrong with them.
Yeah,
they were healthy as can be.
Yeah,
I think he just had the satisfaction of seeing that morphine and seeing
like what it does to the people, maybe.
Yeah,
because he's seen what it did to his mother. Yeah, I mean that definitely makes sense. Experts would later speculate that this was the moment that inspired his sadistic killing spree and his MO. Following his mother's death, Shipman went on to marry Primrose May Oxtodd. I think that's her name. Well, we're gonna go with that. We're gonna just say Primrose. While studying medicine at Leeds University Medical School, the pair had 4 children together, and from the outside, Shipman's life was a picture.
normal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like the most normal thing ever.
No one. I mean, at the beginning of this, you're never gonna think that this guy's gonna murder anybody. You know, he's got his beautiful wife. He's got his beautiful children.
His perfect life.
I mean,
his life is basically perfect.
He's becoming a doctor, so I mean, he's gonna be making great money. I mean,
what?
It's kind of hard to say what really persuaded him into doing this because he had a great life.
Exactly.
He was becoming a doctor where he knew he was going to be making great money, saving people's lives every day. He had a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. Like I don't under it's hard to imagine what really pushed this guy into just going around and just killing a bunch of old ladies and men.
God complex.
I mean, it had to have been something. So he graduated from Leeds University Medical School in 1970 and commenced his life as a junior doctor. But he quickly moved up the ranks and became a general practitioner at a medical center in West Yorkshire. It was here in 1976 that Shipman first found himself in trouble with the law. So here we go. We're kind of getting into your normal thing that you see in the killers. They're starting to get into smaller crimes with the police prior to their murders. Because, you know, the murders, they're huge crimes. But it seems like a lot of these murders, they start getting into, like, some petty stuff and small crimes.
Work their way up.
Yeah, they kind of work their way up, it seems like. The young doctor was caught forging prescriptions for Demerol, an opioid typically used to treat severe pain and use.
So he took opioids, basically.
Shipman had become an addict. He forged prescriptions for himself
for opioids.
So he could take them himself because he was a drug addict. He had a drug problem.
Huh.
I don't know how he got into that drug problem, and maybe
he had pain one day, took an opioid,
or
and
his
he got
kid
hooked, or he had an accident.
his kids stressing him out, home life stressing him out. Maybe some pushed him into this drug use.
Yeah,
We don't know what.
it doesn't say.
And Shipman didn't really talk much about his murders. He never specified anything. He didn't even confess to these murders, so we don't really know a lot. Pretty much most of the stuff that we go on is from the investigators of this case,
Yeah, because he didn't say
family
nothing.
members of the people that died. He didn't. Yeah, he didn't say anything. So it's pretty much just up to the law and up to relatives of the people that he killed.
Before he died, he was strongly, nonstop saying he was innocent.
EDC swore up and down he did not do this. So, of course, he was fined and he was fired from his job and required to attend a rehabilitation center in York. So he went to rehab. He got fired, got fined, went to rehab. He finished rehab. So he seemed to get back on his feet quickly after rehab and returned to work at Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde in 1977. So the craziest thing is that he so easily got back on his feet just a year later. Maybe less than a year later, this guy got back on his feet after doing rehab, and they let him back into medicine. I feel like that should have been the first red flag for this guy when it came to medicine. Is that
he got back on his feet so
no,
fast.
he just did all this stuff that should get your medical license taken away, like in an instant. His medical license should be taken away.
You gotta think back in the day.
Yeah, but he continued to practice law at a doctor's office, well, at a medical center. So I don't get it, but I mean, I feel like he should have been fined not being able to ever practice medicine again. But
Yeah.
what am I? Who am I to speak on that? He would spend the next 15 years of his career here before setting up a one-man practice in 1993. He developed a reputation among his patients and his community as a good and helpful physician. He was renewed for his bedside manner. So he studied at this medical center for years and years and years. Then he decided to open up his own practice. This is kind of where it gets into the crimes he committed, was whenever he opened up his own practice. Yet no one knew that at the same time, Dr. Death was secretly killing his patients. Grisly crimes of the doctor.
So here we go into his crimes and everything.
This is kind of the start of his criminal history of where he started murdering these patients. It was in March of 1975 when Shipman took his first patient, 70-year-old Eva Lawrence. It was the day before her birthday. At this time,
God,
that's kind of a
that's awful.
That's a fucked up time to take somebody's life right before her 71st birthday.
And like he was good on bedside manner and everything, so he had to have known her birthday was literally coming up.
Yeah, because he pretty much where it's saying bedside manner is like, to go a little bit more into depth into that. This man went into these people's homes,
took care of them,
comforted them, and helped them through the troubles that they were having medically. And he would falsely give these people a diagnosis that they didn't have, because a lot of these older women were in great health for their age, and he would tell them, "Hey, you got something wrong with you. You need medicine,
or you have cancer. You have this.
You have something wrong with you. You need me to treat you.
Yeah.
So I need to keep coming to your house and treating you."
And
people liked him so much because he would so often go to these people's houses just to do small things like take their blood pressure, see how they're doing.
Take their blood.
Yeah, just to run tests on them to show that he cared and he wanted these people to survive. But secretly, he was hiding. He was going to kill these people all along.
Well, investigators' video I watched on the investigators who were in the crime, who investigated the crime and stuff, they said the taking the blood was him actually injecting them with the morphine.
Oh. So he didn't even tell him that he was injecting them with this medicine.
No.
He was like, let me take your blood.
Yeah.
And secretly he was just giving a syringe of drugs to him.
In the investigation, they were saying how his bedside manner too, that he would sit there and talk to them, conversate with them, have cups of tea with them, and just spend the day with them. So you gotta think how close he got to these people and no guilt. No guilt.
No guilt. He got super close to these people and then just murdered them out of the blue.
Exactly.
It's a crazy thing. So at this time, Shipman got his hands on enough morphine to kill hundreds of people, though no one was even aware of his addiction until the next year. So no one even knew this guy was pretty much embezzling this morphine, just taking hundreds and thousands of vials of morphine so he could prepare for his killing. So I mean, this guy planned this.
Red flags. Red flags.
Well, I mean, you can tell he planned it by he collected so much morphine, so like he had a plan. He knew what he was going to do with
just
this
like
morphine.
Other killers.
Yeah, there's no reason why he had all this.
They're so smart. Like they're intelligent, smart. Like they're smart.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
they're smart that they know how to get away with it, how to hide under like these facades.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, he had to have planned it for so long. He's collecting this morphine.
He thought it through.
He
definitely
has so much of it that no doctor would actually use the amount that he has on him.
No, he definitely was like, I'm gonna do this for a while.
Yeah. So throughout shipment, all right, let's backtrack just a little bit. So he got all this morphine, but no one knew that he had it. No one knew he had it. So Shipman was then fired a year later for forging more prescriptions. So he was fired yet again for forging prescriptions. The same thing he just got fired for maybe 2 years later. He was yet again not removed from the medical council, and the doctors regularly
checked the bodies, and instead he received a warning letter for it.
Yeah.
Not even fired for it. A warning letter. Like, who does that?
Yeah, I don't see how he doesn't get fired. Once they find out that he's forging yet again more prescriptions when he just got caught a year to 2 years earlier forging prescriptions and being a drug addict. And he does it again. Yeah, these guys are just like, okay, let's give this guy another slap on the wrist.
Let him try doing some of that this year, this time and age.
Yeah, I mean, he would be. He should have been fired the first time. I don't know why they just let him slip through the cracks and keep practicing medicine.
This day and age, he probably would have got arrested, went to jail,
probably sued out the yin yang.
Yeah, and then got his license taken.
Yeah, no doubt. So, according to investigators, Shipman would stop and reset his killing spree many times throughout the decades of terror, but his method of killing always remained the same. He would target the vulnerable, with the oldest victims being a 93-year-old Anna Cooper, and his youngest victim being 41-year-old Peter Lewis.
So it's not just old women; he's doing men too.
Yeah, and 41 is like middle age. So you can kind of see where he's ranging between middle aged to very old people.
Yeah.
41 through 93. That kind of gives you the age range. 41 through 93 is kind of the age range that he's choosing.
Yeah, I think 93, okay, normal death, oh, whatever. But 43, that's when someone should have been like, that's suspicious.
Yeah,
43.
I feel
41.
I feel like that's where he started to slip up a little bit, is that, whenever he's killing these really old women or men, you can kind of play that off as its natural causes because they're super old.
Yeah.
Like a 91-year-old man or woman could just die in their sleep for natural causes.
Oh, yeah.
Because their body just gives out. They're so old. But a 41-year-old man that's probably in decent health just dies out of nowhere.
That's a little suspicious.
Like, dies in his sleep out of nowhere. And the big thing is, I've seen in a lot of these documentaries, is that he would convince these families to not do autopsies on these patients.
And just say they died. They died from this cause.
They died from a natural cause.
Yeah.
Or the doctor would forge a death certificate for these patients to kind of trick the family into thinking that they actually had a medical condition that killed them. But secretly, they didn't. He just drugged them and murdered them.
That's crazy.
Which, it wasn't bad whenever they were really old, because that was super easy to play off. But when people started getting suspicious is whenever he's killing these middle-aged people and giving them these random illnesses that no one has ever seen. Like their families haven't noticed any symptoms of any of these medical conditions. Or their family members
don't have those conditions.
Yeah, like
when the family has
in their family, just random medical conditions that he just says that they magically came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they died from it. So then he had administered a lethal dose of morphine and either watched them die right there or sent them home to perish. So sometimes he would give them enough to kill them right on the spot. Or he would give them just enough where they could get home
and die right there
and slowly die.
That is such horrifying.
It's crazy that and some of his victims, he would just stand there and just watch them die. I would love to know. I would love to know where all these family members are during this situation.
That's just like the last story we read up on. the strangler. You're strangling this person. You're watching them in their eyes, their life fade away from them. How could you do that?
Yeah.
How could you stomach that? Because they're sick in the damn head. That's what it is.
It's messed up. So it's believed that he killed 71 of his patients while working at Donnabrook practice. Oh, so he did kill people while he was working at
that place.
At Donnabrook.
Well, he was working at a hospital. Now he has his own practice that he owns. So he's the lead doctor there.
Yeah. So he's the lead doctor of this Donnabrook.
So that's why he could get away with it so much.
And that's probably why it was so easy for him to get all this morphine.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so he killed 71 patients at Donnabrook practice, and while operating his one-man practice, okay, so he killed 71 patients at Donnabrook and his one-man practice.
Okay, so there's 2 different practices that he's in.
Okay. So, which it's kind of weird to observe this because he killed 250 patients.
And just what you'd say, how many years?
I don't know. It kind of trips me out that it's believed that he killed 71 patients, but it's also confirmed that he's killed 250 patients. I guess maybe that's kind of an estimation of how many people he killed within these years.
Well, the cops went through all his records and they pulled all the bodies out. They told him that he said not to examine. They pulled the bodies, and all of them had a bunch of lethal amount of morphine in their body.
So of his victims, 171 of them were female and 44 of them were men. So he definitely targeted the older ladies. Maybe that was a connection to his mother. He had more kind of feelings towards the women because his
mother died from.
Yeah. However, in 1998, undertakers in his community of Hydra became suspicious of the number of Shipman's patients who were dying. The neighboring medicine practices further discovered that the death rate of his patients were almost 10 times higher than their own.
Oh my God.
So they kind of, the other hospitals and doctor's office were kind of like, why is so many people dying whenever they go see Shipman?
And they're probably referencing to other people, hey, don't go to this practice. He has a 10 times higher kill rate.
Yeah, that's what trips me out is that how he's still getting patients after so many people are dying whenever they go to visit him. But it kind of, I guess it goes into play how good his personality is. He has these family members see him going and visiting their loved ones while they're sick or while they believe to be sick.
Yeah.
He sees how much they're visiting them, so the family members are like, he's such a great doctor, he's such an amazing doctor, he comes and visits my mother, he comes and visits my father all the time just to check in to see how they're doing. So that kind of passes along throughout the community, and people are like, wow, he is such an amazing doctor, he really cares about his patients. But secretly, he definitely does not care about a single one of them.
Nope.
So they reported that concerns to the local coroner and the greater Manchester police were called. This could have been the end of Shipman's reign of terror, but it wasn't.
Oh God.
So whenever these deaths, all these deaths that Shipman were a part of, got reported to the police and the counselors, which are pretty much the higher ups in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what that is. The higher ups in the hospital
and the coroners.
Yeah, that's what that is. Higher ups of the hospitals and stuff. So once they hear word of this, they do an investigation on Shipman.
Coroners are the people that looks at the dead bodies.
No, is it?
Yeah.
Whatever. British people. So whenever they get word of this, they were called, but they could not. And this could have been the end of his reign.
No, but it wasn't.
The police failed to carry out the most basic of checks, including whether Shipman had a criminal record, if they'd asked the medical board what was on his file. So they have uncovered that he had forged prescriptions in the past.
No, they failed to do it all.
They failed. The most basic thing. Which you kind of see this in a lot of the murders, that the police and people investigating this have one of the biggest roles in capturing these people because they seem to just not do their job. They seem to just not care
at all.
Yeah, and just not try.
They probably just thought it was a stupid, call in and stuff.
Because they couldn't carry out finding Shipman's criminal history. They couldn't find
his criminal record.
How did they not find this stuff? But the medical board did find that he forged prescription, that that he did forge prescriptions in the past, which they didn't care, of course.
Nope.
Of course, they didn't make any leeway into that at all. So, Shipman had also covered his tracks by adding false illnesses to his victims' records. As a result, the investigators didn't find any cause for concern, and the deadly doctor was free to keep killing. So, yeah, so like we said earlier, he would do false illnesses to these people, and that's kind of what that's what hit him for so long. Is that the police believe that these people had real illnesses, which, I mean, a lot of the police, they're not doctors, so they're not really looking into
They don't know
that far into depth. They're like, okay, these people had illnesses, that's why they died.
Yeah,
and Shipman is such a friendly doctor. They're all going. All of these people that are sick and need help are going to him.
He's hiding in the social circles.
Yeah, everybody likes him so much, so everybody's going to him, and that's what the police believe. So this section that we're going to get into kind of gets into the exposure of what finally got Harold Shipman
arrested,
the Doctor of Death, caught.
Finally, God.
So Shipman's crimes were finally uncovered after he made the mistake of trying to forge the will of one of his victims, 81-year-old Kathleen Grundy, a former mayor of his town of Hydra. Damn, he went high up in the circle. He killed the fucking mayor. The mayor of their town.
The former mayor.
Yeah, the former mayor of the town. And he forged a will, so he pretty much he got greedy.
So, if he would have never forged that victim's will, I heard from the family. I watched the video on one of the family members. It was this, the son-in-law. He said the only reason why, because the daughter was just gonna be like, okay, she died from natural causes. That's what it says in the death certificate. And he, of course, told them not to examine the body, which he was like, okay, fine with whatever. But as soon as they saw that will and they saw it was all going to him, that's when he talked to his wife and said, no, we need to investigate. There's something suspicious.
And also in that documentary, what it says is that the family turned in this will to an investigator to kind of look over this will to make sure that the grandmother actually wrote this, because they were reading this and they were like, there's no way that my mother left all this money to this random man that she barely knew that just came and did checkups on her. There's no way.
Even if he spent her last dying days with him, who would do that?
So what the investigator said is that this does not look like something that she would have written.
Yes, falsely, what's the word?
They can kind of see that this is like a false testimony. Like this is not what she would have wrote. So after a Shipman administered a legal dose of morphine to Kathleen, he selected the best way to put this is he kind of persuaded this family into cremation. Like, hey, you need to this is the best way and then maybe the cheapest way to dispose of your mother in a nice fashion is to cremate her. So they cremated this lady, but
they
secretly
they didn't.
They didn't cremate him?
No, because her body got pulled. He talked them saying that her last wishes were being cremated. The daughter didn't go through with it. She wanted her mother to be put into the plot next to her dad. So they put her next to the plot.
Okay. But he wanted them to be cremated.
Oh, yeah. He wanted her to be cremated. He didn't want any evidence.
Yeah, he wanted all these people to be cremated just to hide the evidence.
Oh, yeah.
Which is weird because the way he's killing them, there's not much evidence to it. But he's trying so hard to cover his tracks. He's trying to persuade all of these families to cremate their loved ones just to hide the fact. So after this lady died, and he tried to persuade this family into cremating this lady, he would then write a will
with a typewriter.
He would use his typewriter. He would write out this will for the family. But the big mistake that he made here
is leaving everything.
He left the entire family out of the will, leaving every ounce of what she owned to him. I mean, he didn't even leave like a house to them, a car to them, a little bit of money. He took everything. Like the family wasn't even mentioned in this will. Like maybe there was no family members' names on this will at all.
Maybe he would have kind of got away with it if it was like a donation to him.
Or like if he would have included some of the family members.
He would have included them and then put aside she wanted to donate some to his practice.
To his practice. Yeah, that would have made sense. But no, he got so greedy at this point that he wanted everything this lady had.
And he thought
because obviously being the former mayor, she probably had some money.
Oh, yeah.
She probably was rolling.
And he was dumb enough to think that the family would be okay. They left everything to you.
So, of course, what my wife said, which, because I was wrong about it, of course, the family said no to the cremation, and she was buried beside of her husband because her daughter decided that she didn't want to cremate her. Because I'm guessing that the father was not cremated; he was buried in a plot. So she wanted to maybe fulfill her mother's wish of being buried with her husband.
Or she wanted to fulfill the wish of her father, maybe. To what her daughter knows, it was her will to be cremated, but she wanted her buried next to her dad. So when she goes, visits her dad's and mother's grave, they're side by side.
Okay. Upon burying her mother, she was suspicious of foul play and went to the police. So Woodford said of the situation, the whole thing is unbelievable. The thought of mom signing the documents and leaving everything to her doctor was
unbelievable,
incomprehensible that she would just leave all of this stuff to this random doctor. The concept of signing a document which was so badly typed didn't make sense.
Dang, those were her own words.
Yeah, those were her own words that she spoke to the police about the situation. That this made no sense. It wasn't written like her mother. It didn't.
In the video, she said her mother had beautiful handwriting and loved showing it off.
Yeah, so why would she use a typewriter?
Exactly.
That's
At
probably
that, a
another
doctor's typewriter.
Yeah, like why would why would my mother use a typewriter when
Why
she
would a
loved?
doctor give a patient his typewriter to type on? You see, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, that doesn't make sense in general. There's not certain typewriters. Typewriter.
But why did the doctor give the patient so she could type her will up?
Well, how do you know she didn't have a typewriter?
She didn't. I watched a video on it.
So in the documentary, it stated that she
used the doctor's typewriter. His excuse was she asked for my typewriter to write up her will.
Oh, okay. All right, we're getting somewhere. All right. So her body was Grundy's body was subsequently examined in August 1998, and morphine was found in her muscle tissue. Shipman was then arrested on September 7th of that year.
See, got sloppy.
Yeah,
Idiot.
he pretty much, they did an autopsy on her body, and they found that there was morphine still in her muscle tissue. So over the next 2 months, the bodies of other 11 victims were examined. A police expert also checked Shipman's surgery computer and discovered that he had made false entries to support the fake causes of death he gave on his victims' death certificates. So they reviewed all of his files, and they went back and looked at these bodies of these victims that he killed. 11. So the reason why, if you guys are wondering why it's only 11 victims that they looked into, is because he, of course, tried to get these patients to be cremated. So some of them that were cremated, you can't look back on that.
No, it's done deal.
They're already cremated. But, of course, he couldn't talk all of these 250 victims into cremation. Some of them are gonna be stubborn and say, no, I want my family member, I want my mother, I want my grandparents, I want them buried.
Yeah.
I do not want these people. I do not want my family members cremated. And that's, of course, what happened here. So they get at least 12 victims leading to him that they can pin against him at this point. And after reviewing all of his documents, they've seen that all of these 11 people, including Grundy's,
was fake.
Were fake. They were all written by him. They could tell that they were written by him because of how similar they were. So Shipman insisted that Grundy was an addict
to drugs
and liked morphine and heroin, and pointed to his notes as evidence of this. So in his notes, he pointed that she was a drug abuser. She abused morphine and heroin. However, the police found that Shipman had written the notes on his computer after her death.
Wow. Timestamp, stupid.
Yeah, so this is kind of getting into, he used his office computer to type these up, but I guess maybe because he was an old guy, he didn't know that
they're timestamped.
These things are dated. Even if you don't date them yourself, they still have dates of when they were written. I guess he didn't know that, and that's another fuck up that he did, is that he didn't know that they were timestamped. So then the police managed to verify 14 other cases where Shipman had given lethal doses of morphine, falsely registered the patient's deaths, and tampered with their medical history to show that they were dying anyways. So, like, it's kind of backtracking to what we said at the beginning. A lot of these people were healthy, older women and men. There was nothing wrong with these people. They just went to him for a normal checkup, and then he would falsely diagnose them with an illness they never had, which is it's crazy to think about that they would just go into his doctor's office just to get a normal checkup, and they would leave knowing that they had
These diagnoses.
these random illnesses. It's crazy. All right. So after Harold was finally captured by the police questioned him for the murders, and he refused to cooperate with the police. He wasn't having it. When the police tried to question him or show him photos of his victims, he sat with his eyes shut on and refused to look at any of the evidence.
What a fucking asshole.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it comes into play that a lot of this is speculated. A lot of this stuff is just coming from investigators and the relatives of these murders because he just would not cooperate with these people.
A sick monster.
They would ask him, show him photos, and he was not having it. Police could only charge Shipman with 15 of the murders, but it was estimated that he had killed anywhere between 250 and 450 people.
Oh my god.
So I'm guessing the way they're estimating this is by there was about somewhere between 250 to 450 people that died
in his practice.
Yeah, in his practice while he was the best way to say this is while they were in his care.
Yeah.
So, but they only found 15
That he could
of
be
the
charged.
They could only find 15 people that he murdered.
You gotta think how
And
long
the type of documents he did.
Well, you gotta think how many bodies they could have only pulled.
Yeah, they could only pull about 15 of them because the rest were cremated, and who knows, maybe those files were deleted.
Or the bodies were just, too old to even
Yeah, they couldn't really tell when they died and if the documents that he read up for these people were after they died, before they died.
Well, that's how they
or if they weren't real, or if they were real. They couldn't tell. So in 2000, Shipman was handed life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was then incarcerated in a Manchester prison, but ended up in a Wakefield prison in West Yorkshire where he took his own life. On the day before his 58th birthday, on January 13th, 2004, Shipman was found hanging in a cell. He told his probation officer before this that he was thinking about committing suicide so that his wife would receive his pension and a lump sum of money. So I mean, he told these officers that he was going to kill himself.
Why
I don't
solitary?
I don't know why they didn't put him somewhere where he couldn't kill himself. But I guess he didn't care. I guess maybe the crimes he committed,
Which is so weird that he's thinking about his family.
This kind of shows that he did care about his family, he cared about his kids, he cared about his wife. He had a family, and he had a legit life outside of all these murders that he committed. You got to think, he probably, he went to his 8 to 10 hour job a day, went home and spent time with his family after just killing dozens of people every day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the craziest thing, that he just went home and lived a normal life, but while he was at his job,
he was killing
and killing and killing. With his death looms the question of why he killed. Several theories have been put forward to explain why Shipman had the urge to murder. Some say that he may have been avenging the death of his mother. Others say that it offered more of a charitable option for these elderly people to die, was morphine.
I guess.
So some people just
offering compassion to him. It's just, I don't see it.
Still, others suggest that the doctor had a good complex and simply needed to prove that he could take the life as well as save it.
God complex.
Yep, that's the God complex that you were referencing earlier. So no one really knows why he did all this.
He never said.
We'll never know. It's all speculation of why he did this.
He always said he was innocent.
Yep, I mean he swore up and down to these officers whenever they were investigating the murders that he was innocent. He didn't do anything.
The childish thing is that he closed his eyes and yawned.
Yeah, that was pretty childish. That he just didn't want to hear it. He's like, I didn't do that.
He didn't want to look at the evidence. Didn't want to look at the victims.
Like he was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was a little kid the whole time. Well, guys, that was the gruesome life of Mr. Harold Shipman,
or better known as
Dr. Death. So, guys, I hope you guys appreciate. Okay, well, if I can speak English, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I really appreciate all you guys listening to this horrifying
story.
And we love you all, and thank you, and we hope to see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.